Welcome in, everybody. Ready for another deep dive.
So-
Today we're tackling big tech, but even more specifically, how it influences, maybe even dictates, the future of democracy.
Definitely a hot topic. And this article, Big Tech's Censura Manipulation, really brings it home.
Absolutely. Gets right to the chase, doesn't it? Every time I refresh my feed, boom, another scandal about censorship, big tech flexing its political muscles. This article digs deep into all that.
Doesn't pull any punches either, starting right with Mark Zuckerberg. His recent admission that Facebook, on his watch, bowed to pressure from the Biden administration, censoring information, especially during COVID, is huge.
Right, and that's what makes this article so gripping. It's not just some theoretical debate. It brings these big ideas about censorship, free speech, right down to actual events, real people making calls that impact millions of us.
And not just immediate impact, but lasting consequences. The article points out Zuckerberg saying now he regrets some of that, specifically about Hunter Biden. Like, how much did that shape the narrative?
Makes you wonder, what's behind that regret, right?
Yeah.
Is it genuine? Fear of backlash? Or just some calculated PR move? Hard to say. But raises the question, how much influence should governments have over what we see online?
Slippery slope for sure, and the article argues it's not just a U.S. thing. Look at Pablo Marçal in Brazil. X, under Musk, brought in a big-time law firm to defend him despite all the controversy around him.
Wow, yeah, so it's about who gets that protection, right?
Yeah.
Is X being consistent, or are some people getting special treatment based on their reach, their viewpoint?
Exactly, and it all ties back to Musk's whole free speech absolutism thing with X. Remember when he took over, everyone thought it'd be a free-for-all?
Oh, totally. The Wild West of social media, right. But the reality's messier.
Way more complicated. The article highlights this gap between what Musk says and what X actually does. He talks a big game about free speech, but people still get banned, content removed, especially in those countries with stricter governments.
So much for a bastion of free speech for all, huh? Makes you wonder if these platforms, no matter who's in charge, can ever be truly neutral referees in all this.
Especially given Musk's very public leanings, his support of Trump, right? The article brings up Trump's account reinstatement as a red flag. Maybe Musk's using X to push his own agendas.
Yeah, hard to ignore that possibility. It all makes you think about the bigger picture, how these companies shape what we talk about, even unintentionally.
And that's where it connects back to a blast from the past, Cambridge Analytica. Might seem like ancient history online, but it's still relevant.
Oh, absolutely. That was a wake-up call for a lot of people, how much these companies know and how they can use it or misuse it.
Exactly. The article talks about how they got data from Facebook, used it to supposedly sway elections, Brexit, the 2016 U.S. election. Crazy stuff.
Seriously, those quizzes, those surveys we take, all that seemingly innocent online stuff shaping elections, it's kind of creepy. You think that's still going on, even without Cambridge Analytica?
The million-dollar question, right? Cambridge Analytica might be gone, but they exposed a weakness that's still there. This article argues data manipulation's alive and well, just evolved.
So where do we even start to protect ourselves from that? I mean, so much online feels like a black box.
This is where knowing your stuff is key. The article really stresses understanding these platforms, how our data feeds into them, what those algorithms are really doing. We don't need to be tech geniuses, but a little digital literacy goes a long way.
So we're not just blindly scrolling, we're making informed choices about what we share, how we engage online.
Exactly. And part of that is recognizing how algorithms can create echo chambers, right? They feed us more of what we already like, what we agree with, limiting exposure to other viewpoints. Imagine a librarian who only lets you borrow books they think you'll like based on what you've read before. You miss out on so much.
Like those recommendations on streaming services, you end up stuck in a genre rut.
Exactly. And that might be fine for entertainment, but with news, political stuff, it's different. See only one side, it's easy to get sucked in, lose sight of the bigger picture.
And lose that ability to have those healthy disagreements.
Yeah.
The kind that actually makes democracy work.
Absolutely. This is where the article's call for big tech transparency is so crucial. We need to see how these algorithms work, what data they use, how they're dealing with this echo chamber effect.
It does feel like we're in the dark a lot, trusting these companies to have our best interests at heart, but this article shows that's not always true.
Right, and that's where personal responsibility meets collective action. We can't just be passive consumers. We've got to engage critically, question things, demand better.
So it's about being informed, being aware of our own biases, and being open to views outside our comfort zone.
Exactly. Taking back control of our digital lives, making sure tech, with all its potential, actually strengthens democracy, not the opposite.
Powerful stuff. But it's easy to feel overwhelmed, even helpless with all this talk of censorship, manipulation. What can we do as individuals to make a difference?
Yeah, it really is a lot. Where do we even start? It's easy to feel kind of powerless, like one person can't change all this.
I get that it's a big question, right?
Okay.
And the article wrestles with that, the challenge of it all. But ultimately, I think it leans toward hope, cautious optimism. It's not too late, but it takes all of us, a real collective push.
Okay, so what does that look like? I mean, what can we actually do day to day to be part of that change?
Well, it starts with awareness, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been saying, understanding these platforms, how our data is used, those algorithms, that's step one.
And no more passive scrolling. We got to be more conscious, more critical of how we use this stuff.
Exactly. And then beyond just us as individuals, we got to hold big tech's feet to the fire, demand transparency, accountability. These platforms are like the new public square, essential for communication. They got to step up and foster a healthy online space, one that's good for democracy. So pushing for better algorithms, clear rules about content, more open discussion about how these decisions are made, all that.
Exactly. And don't forget about the good old-fashioned ways of making change. Legislation. We can push for laws that force transparency, protect our data, prevent its use in manipulating elections.
So it's using everything we've got both online and offline to make sure tech serves democracy, not the other way around.
Nailed it. Shaping a future where tech helps us have informed debates, where we hear diverse viewpoints, and ultimately strengthen the core of a healthy democracy.
Wow, this has been eye-opening, I gotta say. Thanks for breaking it all down. Definitely a lot to think about.
Absolutely, and the conversation doesn't end here, right? Keep asking the tough questions, stay informed, and never forget, every time we log on, we're shaping the future of tech and democracy.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into big tech and democracy. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and stay engaged.